Hello friends, this is Dr. Sabiyath Fatima, Associate Professor from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. Before going into the session, we should have an understandability on the title Network Security and Cryptography. Network is a group of two or more connected systems which are communicating each other. Now when data is transferred from one end to the other end, the completeness of the data has to be maintained. The consistency of the data has to be retained. There should be no loss of data. So to achieve this, security principles are applied. How security principles are applied? Using cryptographic techniques. So when the sender sends a message, he will encode the data whatever is to be sent, and it is received on the receiver side in a decoded format. So you have some mathematical algorithms or theorems applied on the cryptographic algorithms which will encode it and give it in the form of a ciphertext. So the original message is called as a plain text. The encoded message is called the ciphertext. This is what is the general idea of the network security and cryptography techniques. Now going into the security concepts. Now how basically security is applied in our general day-to-day life. Let us take our home. How do we apply security for our home? Then naturally we go use lock and key for locking our doors. That is the basic security we provide in our home. When it comes to your flat or a supermarket, we have security personnel standing outside in the main gate. Even in our institution, we have security personnel, human beings standing in the security gate to provide security. We also have CCTV cameras, the surveillance systems, electronic surveillance system, which is covering the entire area, providing security for the people who are inside. So this is all the basic happenings, physical and the administrative happenings, which is there for the general provision of security. Now we are in the modern world which have computers. How do you provide computer security? For the data which is stored in the computer. We all store data in the computer. How computer security is done? For this you make use of tools. Tools and mechanisms are used to protect the data in the computer. Also the hardware and softwares which are inside the computer are also protected. So from whom we are supposed to protect this data? We are supposed to protect from the hackers, viruses. Viruses are the program. Worms are programs which are installed in the operating system which will hack the data in the system. Mechanisms to protect the data in the computer, even the hardware and software are also protected from the intruders. Intruders are the unauthorized users. Against whom we are supposed to protect this data? The unauthorized users, the hackers, the viruses. Viruses are the programs that are installed in the operating system which will corrupt your data in the computer. Denial of service attack, it is the network resource itself is made shut down. For the intended users, it is not providing the complete resource. Your network becomes traffic. So this is how you hackers attack your data. Now out of all these definitions, now we are arriving at a definition for network security. It is a measure to prevent, detect and correct the security violations that involve the transmission of information in a network or interconnected networks. So this is how you technically define a network security to be. Now let us take an example. We all have used Amazon, Flipkart, all these websites for performing an online shopping. So when we do online shopping, first we go choose a product, then you go take it into the cart. Finally, you go for the online payment. When you do this online transaction, you need security for the data that is transferred from your side to the merchant side. So we usually get OTP pins. So this OTP is generated only for a few seconds. So it gives the authorization for the entities that are transferred. So identity of the person, whoever is involved in the transformation is maintained. So prevention. What is prevention here? What are the ways in which you can prevent the data? You should not reveal the card number through the internet. You should not give the card number. You should encrypt the card number. You can enforce the merchants to do some extra checks using the pins for the internet transactions. All these are the various methods to prevent the network security violations. Detections. I am not able to prevent it. What can I do? I should be able to detect what has happened. So how will you detect it? unauthorized transaction has happened. When you take up a statement, you will be able to view that some unauthorized happening is done in your account. Now I have detected it. After detection, what you will do? You will go react on it. You will find solutions for the problem that has occurred. So what is the solution would be? You will go make a complaint. You will ask for a new card number. So these are the three different methods you will follow to provide network security. Moving on to network security objectives. Now what are the basic, why do we need network security? What is the purpose of network security? So when you take up this confidentiality, you take the same ATM number. I am the individual user of the ATM number. I will have the PIN. It is confidential only for myself. I am the user of it. Whoever is the individual using the ATM, he is having it confidential. So it is the confidential information. The PIN number is the confidential information the individual possesses. So data confidentiality could be defined in this way. It assures that private or confidential information is not made available or disclosed to the unauthorized individuals. Now next, privacy. How do I, it's the same ATM number itself, ATM PIN card you take. You have the PIN number. PIN number with the access, with the assurance of the specific individual. I can tell my PIN number to my mom or a dad. I give access control to the other person. My privacy data, I am deciding on the data to whom to be shared. What data to be shared, that is the definition. Assures that individuals control or influence what information related to them. PIN number is related to my ATM card. It may be stored and by whom? By me. I am sharing it to whom? To my dad and mom, so that information may be disclosed. So that is how you talk about privacy. Next, integrity. Integrity is any changes in between happens only in a specified or authorized manner. Assures that informations are changed only with the assurance of the owner. That you call it as integrity of the data. System integrity. The entire system itself, the data with respect, the information with respect to the system itself is given in an authorized manner. That is, it assures that a system performs its intended function in an unimpaired manner, free from inadvertent, unauthorized manipulation of the system. That is, assurance is given to the entire system, the data, completeness of the data. So when you take up this triangle, you will have confidentiality, integrity, next coming to the availability of the data. That is, making the data available to the intended user, that is the authorized user. The system is completely working, system or the service, whichever is completely working, and the authorized user is not denied of the services provided. That you call it as availability. So all these three components form the main need of security principles. The objectives. Now moving on to the next, you have OSI security architecture, open system interconnection. This is a framework which will talk about the security attacks, the mechanisms and the security services. Now what are attacks? I have my data in my system, some external person, some unauthorized user coming and doing some modifications, attacking, stealing, all this happenings on my data. So it is destroying the information in the system, stealing of information from the computer, blocking the complete operation of the network crash, shutdown due to heavy traffic. All these are having attacks on the system. Malicious software, that is what virus and worms are, the softwares which are attacking the entire operation of your operating system. Now who could be the source of these attacks? Naturally it is an unauthorized user, he is not the owner of the data. How he could do? He could be an insider within the network, or he may be an outside person attacking our network wherever it is available. Now when you look at this picture, you have the sender and the receiver. Bob is the sender, Alice is the receiver. In between Dor, he is an intruder sitting there. Now when you talk about passive attacks, there won't be any modifications involved on the contents of the original message. Whatever the sender is sending, the same message will reach the receiver, but in between the intruder will be able to view the contents, message contents, and he will be able to view the traffic flow, the flow of the message. He will not be able to touch upon the data contents. So this you call it as passive attacks. You have one more attack, which is the active attack, which will have modifications on the original data that are available from the sender to the receiver. So modifications in the entire contents of the data, you call it as active attack. How these modifications are done in the data stream? By masquerade, pretending that he is the owner of the data, but actually he will not be the owner. Replaying the previous message, that is, message would be sent, but it is stopped in between. It will take some more time. After some time, the message is being transferred to the receiver. The receiver, until then, he waits. The message will reach me. He will think, but something happens in the middle. The intruder has taken up the data. He is viewing it, doing something. Later on, he is delaying the message to be reached to the other end. Modification in the messages during the transit. That is the third one. You entirely modify the contents of the data. Denial of service, avoiding the network service to the intended user. How this could be done? Increasing the traffic or making the network crash completely. Do not allowing the receiver to receive any message. That is how you provide. These are the various ways in which modifications of data are done in the active attacks. Now when you look at this diagram, you have information source and information destination. This is how normal flow of data happens in a network. Now when you look at the B, the second one, when the data is traveling, it is stopped in between itself. You interrupt. Some interruption has happened in the availability of the data. If the data is available, it should reach the receiver. The sender has sent it. Before the receiver has received it, intruder has stopped it in between. So it is an attack on the availability of the data. The data has not completely reached the receiver. It has stopped in the middle way itself. When you take up the C, the next one, interception. This is an attack on confidentiality. The sender has sent the message. The receiver has also received. But the receiver will think that he is only the receiver. No other person has seen this message. But actually what happens, an intruder is sitting in between. He has also viewed it. After viewing it only, it has been sent to the receiver. But the sender and the receiver will be in an assumption that only both of them are talking. But something intruder has happened in between, which you call it as interruption on your confidentiality. Now confidentiality is lost. Receiver would be thinking that the sender has sent only me the message, but it has lost the confidentiality of the receiver. Third one, modification. Modification is attack on the integrity. Integrity talks about the intended users. The message is reaching only the intended user, but it is not so. The modified data is seen. The modification of the data is done by an intruder. He also views it. Then only the modified message is sent to the receiver. So it is the intended user. It is not reaching the intended user, but after the modification done by a third person. So this is an attack on the integrity, the trust of the data. Fabrication. This is attack on the authenticity. When you see the diagram, the sender is not directly sending to the receiver. Receiver will assume that the sender has only sent it, but there is an attack on the authenticity. Only the third person, an unauthorized person, has received the message, done all the modification and giving back the message to the receiver in an assumption that it is sent by the sender. So it is an attack on authentication of the data, authenticity. The next, mechanisms. Now what are all the mechanisms to prevent the security violations? So mechanisms that are designed to detect, prevent or recover from the security attacks. What are all the mechanisms you could follow for the security provision? Encryption is encryption. Traffic padding. You could add additional bits in the data stream, which will increase the traffic flow. So it will not be easier for the intruder to hack the message completely. Access control. Only the user or the individual owner will give the access control to the other person to view the message. Integrity, data integrity, the trust of the data. See, looking into encipherment. Encipherment is encryption. You use some mathematical algorithms for the purpose of transferring data in a form that is not readable by the intelligible person. That is not understandable way. Only the sender will know the key. He has encrypted the plain text in some format using some mathematical formula. It is sent to the receiver side. On the receiver side, he should be able to decode it with the same key. he has done decryption. Only after that the ciphertext would be converted into the plain text again. This is what is encryption and decryption algorithm. The sender will encrypt, the receiver will decrypt and read the plain text. Next is traffic padding. The insertion of bits. When the data is transferred in the form of streams, you will have bits. So you will include an additional bit in the gaps in the data stream, which to avoid the traffic analysis. When you add up bits, the message will become lengthier. The intruder will find it difficult to analyze the data. That is what is given in the next thing. Adding the additional data in the network traffic, which will make more difficult to identify the sender, receiver, or the data being transmitted. Next, access control. That is, I am the owner of my ATM card. I know the PIN number. Only I should decide whether this PIN number to be known to the other person or not. The same example you could take up. When you do online transaction, you have OTP received on your mobile phone. What is this OTP? It is a security methodology. It is remaining only for a few number of seconds, which will authenticate the two entities who are communicating. So when you look at this, it is a method to prove that user has access. I am the ATM card owner. I have access right to the data or the resources owned by us, owned by my system. So what are the various methods you could use here? You could use digital signatures, message authentication codes, that is mobile passwords. You will have a key, a data appended to your own message, whatever is sent. You will have cryptographic transformation, that is you will encrypt. You will follow your own encryption methods. A data unit to prove the source and the integrity of the data. Authentication exchange, that is what we were talking about, online OTPs, which will ensure the identity of an entity by exchanging some information. We generally use passwords, PIN numbers. So all these are the various ways in which you could protect your data. That is access control, giving access control to the data. It is given by the owner who is doing it. You have data integrity. Integrity refers to maintaining and assuring the accuracy and consistency of the data. That is stressed on the respected user. Intended user should receive the message properly. So maintaining data integrity, it is a focus for all the corporates. We always tend to maintain integrity of the data. That is, whatever I send has to reach the intended user of the data. The receiver has to receive it properly. So services that enhances the security of the data. What is services? It is, you will have advancements, enhancement of the data processing system or information transfers. So how do you enhance the security of the system? By these mechanisms. These are the services which will advance the security mechanism you are providing. Authentication mechanism, access control, data confidentiality, data integrity, and non-repudiation. When you take up authentication, authenticate. That communicating entity is the one it claims to be. The sender and the receiver has to understand that authentication is there between them. Only the sender has sent it, my friend has sent it, I have received it. So authentication of the entity who are involved in the communication is very much necessary for confidential data to be transferred. Peer entity, peer, myself and you, two of you communicate together. So mutual confidence in the identities of the parties. Two of your friends talk together, you assume that both of you are friends, both of you are the intended users of that network, you receive the information. So confirmation on the entities involved in the communication. Data origin, from where the data has been coming from, the source of the data. So assurance about the source of the received data, that has to be maintained. So this is you call as the authenticity in the communication. Access control. I should give access, only the owner has to provide access control for the information. So prevention of unauthorized use of the resource. That is what is access control. Access control. It is the prevention of unauthorized use of a resource. So to achieve this, each entity trying to gain access must first be identified and authenticated so that access rights can be tailored to the individual. So suppose I give access control for my mom or a dad with an ATM PIN number. I am giving access. I am the trusted person. I am giving the access to the two other persons. So it is gaining access must first be identified. I should identify the person to whom I am giving access control. I am authenticating the other two persons to access the data. Next, data confidentiality. Protection of data from unauthorized disclosure. That is again spying. That you call it as confidentiality. what is traffic flow confidentiality? It requires that an attacker not be able to observe the source and destination, frequency, length or other characteristics of the traffic on a communication facility. That is confidentially, it is given to the authorized user alone. You are not supposed to give the data to the unauthorized user. So unauthorized disclosure is called, you are moving out of confidentiality. So confidentiality is protection of data from the unauthorized user. This is done in other terms through the traffic flow. How? You will have the source, destination, frequency, length of the complete message not disclosed to the unauthorized user. Data integrity, this is trust, assuring that you are the owner, the sender is the intended user or the receiver. So assurance that data received are exactly as sent by an authorized sender. The completeness of the data and the consistency of the data is maintained. Trust on the data is maintained. That is, no modification, no insertion, deletion or slowing down of the message happens. The complete data is sent, whatever is sent is received by the receiver in its complete form. That you call it as data integrity. Non-repudiation, it is protection against denial. We have already seen what denial of service is. That is, the network resource itself is stopped completely before it is given to the intended user. How? The network is being shut down, or the traffic is increased, splitting with the entire traffic, or the network crashing. These are all the causes for denial of service. So the intended user will not be able to receive the network resource. That you call it as denial of service. So this is protected by one of the parties in the communication. Protection against this attack. So origin non-repudiation is proof that the message was sent by the specified sender, specified party, the client. Destination non-repudiation, the other side, the receiver. Proof that the message was received by the specified party. So this is what you call it as non-repudiation. Now we have come to the end of this session. Before concluding, we will summarize with what we have done. We started with the definition of network security. We looked into the purpose of network security. Then we had OSI framework, which involved attacks, mechanisms and services. So with that, we have come to the end of the basic concepts of network security. Now, thanks for patiently listening. We will meet again in the next lecture. Good day.